Hey everybody, thanks again for listening to Filling in the Gaps. We have a few announcements this week. First and foremost, we have switched over from SoundCloud to Podbean as our main podcasting app. So everything will be coming from there. I do think that actually means that we will only be showing our most recent 1 hour or 2 hours on SoundCloud. So if that's an issue for anybody, let us know. We'll try to find a way to get episodes over to you or find an easier way for everybody involved. Secondly, this one's pretty exciting. We are also on Spotify now, which we're really happy about. We're moving the ads for our other shows to the backside of the shows. I think that'll be just easier for you all to remember about them anytime that you get a chance to hear about them. They're awesome. We're so excited anytime that we get to work with any of them. So we're really happy. Today should be the day of the release of the module as well. We worked our tails off on that one. We hope you really like it. Speaking of really liking things, we have an episode here. This one was interesting. A lot more mechanical than usual. Check it out. Should be a lot of fun. Thanks.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Filling in the Gaps. My name is Rich from the heartland state of Ohio, and I'm joined as always by, you know him, you love him, the one only Cam from down in the biggest and baddest state of Texas. The two of us every week take a different theme and scenario that we get from rolling 2d20s, and we mash them together into something that'll hopefully help you spark an idea for your next game night. Now Cam, this is the week, the first release of our first ever supplement in 2019. We're doing one a month. You guys voted, and we said okay, and we've been working, and we're happy with it. Cam, how can the people find the supplement once it's all said and done and released?
We are going to be releasing on multiple different social media websites tomorrow not tomorrow, today, because I'm in the future. Hey, what's up, past Cam? So we're going to be releasing on our social media websites like Reddit, Twitter, Discord. Anything else? Was there
AOL chat rooms.
Lego Party Adventure. We have an entire forum.
Club Penguin. Yeah.
Club Penguin. We're dropping it there.
Miiverse.
CokeFM.com.
Yep. CokeFM.com. Wait, can we stop and just pour one out for CokeFM.com? I loved that website growing up.
Oh, man.
It was so good.
Way too many hours at school not working on stuff and actually just playing around at CokeFM.com. Building
exactly. I made many a friend and met many a creeper. Coke FM. This Coke FM, if you're listening, this episode's for you. This one's for you. So sorry everyone about us reminiscing on that for one announcement about making a supplement. But this one's for Coke FM, guys.
Okay. We're going to be releasing on our Discord, our Twitter, our Instagram, and our Reddit as well. We'll be sharing one with that. For anybody that is on the D&D Reddits, we'll also be sharing with the subreddit RPG, subreddit D&D, subreddit Dungeons & Dragons as well. It's free. It's something you can use and go play. We really have sort of busted our butts on it to bring it to life, but we really are happy with it, Rich. I would say.
Yeah, it's going to be sweet. Now, what else, if they're on our Discord or our Twitter or our, our different social media accounts, what else could they be keeping an eye out for, Cam?
You could be keeping an eye out for our giveaway. We're doing a giveaway as well. I know we said it last week, but we were just trying to get some of the finer details confirmed. We will be doing a dice giveaway that'll be announced tomorrow. It'll run for 2 weeks. If you would like to be entered into this giveaway, all you got to do is go follow us on Twitter or follow us on one of the social media sites that we've already mentioned today. Leave a like to the post and retweet it, and we should be well on our way to getting you a nice new set of dice. One winner will be chosen from that as well, and it will be sponsored by Libris Arcana.
The one and only. We love them.
Yeah. So
Libris Arcana dice, Coke FM. This episode's for you.
You guys. In like 10 minutes, we're going to have like 13 different sponsors that we're saying this episode's for.
That's true. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, but so for the most part, yeah, those are the two big things that we'd love to share with y'all. We're excited. We're thankful for everybody so far. We're also thankful for one other very specific thing, Rich.
Oh, okay.
You know what that is?
What?
The light of a child inside of each of our hearts and our ability to find our inner happiness.
Yeah.
Also, shall we roll?
Let's do it. Sorry, I wanted to do something different. People have been telling me to change it, but let's do it. So that's what's going to be this week. But
who's been telling you to change the let's do it?
People talk to me, Cam, sometimes. I know. That surprises you. Guys, I'm drinking coffee today during the episode, and this coffee is affecting me in ways it normally doesn't. But you know what is something that's consistent and stable? The rolling of 2d20s to determine what the rest of this episode will be about. Now, Cam, today I am rolling for our scenarios. You're rolling for our themes, and we've got some good ones on this list. And honestly, there's some on this list that I've been hoping for so long that have not shown up. So, Cam, I'm rolling my green and gold dice. What are you rolling today?
Sunburst orange, light yellow tones throughout, while it tie-dyes through to a almost pearlescent orange. It's nice.
And make sure you tune in after this episode for me and Cam giving a detailed description of different dice that we see. It's going to be great.
Mm-hmm. It's actually our ASMR only sessions of the episode. Can we give them a bit of a... Here, hold on one second. Here's a cut from last week's episode.
Mm-hmm.
So, Rich, I really do enjoy the nice, light green dice that I am. Yep. That's it. That was disgusting. All right, let's roll some dice.
Let's go ahead and roll.
All right, here we go.
Oh, man.
I think I rolled what you rolled last week.
So I have a D&D game tonight, so I guess I'm glad I'm getting this out now. But I rolled a 1.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. And Cam, what'd you get?
I got a 17.
A 17. Okay, well, Cam, while you put these two things together, let me go ahead and tell our listeners what our sponsor is today. I don't know why I'm doing a George W.
Dude, it's this coffee. It's kicking in big time
it's
for
kicking
you today,
in.
Man.
But if you guys are new to the podcast, I am so sorry that this is being so weird. But I got to tell you about a sponsor that we have called Libris Arcana Dice. Now, look, me and Cam, we're squirrely characters. We bounce off the wall a little bit. Cam said that today the two of us are parkour DMs. And that's true, because we like sometimes the randomness and the players coming up with things that surprise us. We enjoy the surprise. If you also enjoy the surprise, I think Libris Arcana Dice has something you might want. You can go ahead and sign up for a monthly or a tri-monthly random dice service. And if you go to their website right now, librisarcanadice.com, and enter the promo code FITG, you will get 25% off your first order. Not your first month, your first order. So you can actually go ahead and place an order for 3 sets of dice with 25% off. That's a great deal. Cam, what did we roll today? What's our episode about?
We have the theme of this episode. It will be tower defense. If you're not familiar with tower defense, it's sort of like the oncoming waves onslaught, and essentially setting them up with different components to knock down things as they're trying to take over your castle. And speaking of castles, we are going to be doing this with a scenario of delivering a gift to the king. Tower defense was brought to us by the Combi Zombie, and delivering a gift to the king was brought to us by My Little Owlbear. So,
My Little Owlbear. Every time I have to sing it.
You do. It's an incredible thing. And they actually just dropped us a bunch more today. They gave us a bunch more themes and scenarios to go off of. So interesting to see.
Well, Cam, I have to say, this is an interesting combo. I'm excited to see what we come up with this one. But as always, let me ask you, when you hear tower defense and when you hear delivering a gift to the king, what pops into your mind, friend?
The thing that comes to my mind the most isn't so much that the tower defense. Most tower defense games, you're in control of the towers. Mm-hmm. In this case, I don't see that being the case. Okay. I actually see the towers being controlled by I don't know. It's something that's trying to stop the players from getting to the king. Or
So if we're playing, we're used to playing balloons tower defense and popping the balloons, but you're saying that we're the balloons.
we're the balloons. Exactly. And so that's the big thing for me is why is the tower? Why are the towers there? And then on top of that, what is it that we're trying to get to this king? Why are we trying to get it to the king? So on and so forth. So,
A blockade.
What do you mean?
Like a block. That's the tower defense. It's a blockade. Like think the worst Star Wars movie, Episode 1. We're trying to deliver some sort of gift to a king who's being blockaded by another king. So there's all these defenses set up to keep people from getting in and out. We're essentially smugglers.
And we're having to smuggle through the lines of the blockade itself.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay.
But there is the other option where...
What part of that... Was that where Jar Jar Binks' people were trying to get to the city? Is that what was happening? And then
No, it's right. It's before that. It's
I'm trying to remember.
It's when Obi-Wan Kenobi and how am I forgetting his name? Liam Neeson. Yeah, Qui-Gon Jinn. They land onto the Trade Federation's ships to parlay with them. And there's the Jordica fight in the hallways. That whole thing is the Trade Federation blockaded Naboo for political reasons.
Okay. But yeah,
so
I think that's a good thing. So we're sort of running a gauntlet episode here.
Yeah. Now the other option is because we've talked about running through a tower defense situation, but there also is, and I could see players having fun with this. It's going to require a lot more, maybe more thought on our end with this delivering a gift to the king, but setting up tower defenses against waves of enemies.
Yeah, the only problem is that if we're defending,
how are we delivering?
Yeah,
how can you defend and deliver?
Yeah,
unless what we're delivering is somehow tied to the tower defense. Could you see that happening at all?
I could, and here's how I could see that happening. So you take the towers themselves, and say, for example, the towers, you're helping to establish these pylons, these energy pylons, at certain distances away from the castle, down maybe a certain path. And at the end of that pathway, think about it this way. It's castle, pylon, 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 pylon. And then at the end of the castle or at the end of this pathway is a large sort of obelisk or something like that. And then once you have those pylons set up, the power from the castle will then energize the obelisk, which will allow for the king's long lost daughter or son or family member to be able to enter through a portal that they've been sort of trapped away in a plane from. And this is the gift that you're delivering to them. And so you have to set up the tower defenses on the way out and create embattlements essentially until you're able to get to this point, and then you have to defend each of those as the evil whomever is trying to take them down. And then you just have ever increasing battles and all this kind of stuff.
Dude, you know I just remembered?
What?
That I think would go along great with that. There is actually a item in the DMG called, I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's essentially a pocket fortress. You have a fortress.
I saw that the other day. Actually.
And you just drop it, you say the magic word, and then boom, it's a small portable castle. What if we kind of make our own in the scenario where whatever gift you give to the king is something that he can unlock to make these these castles. He can activate them essentially, or he knows the magic words to activate them. And then he gives those to you in the middle of this huge fight, and then you kind of fight in to get to the king, and then you fight out and begin dropping down these defensible platforms.
I like that.
And I like the idea too of the power grids, because that means it's not just who really cares where you put these things. Just go throw them out there, no big deal. Like that adds something where it's like, hey, there are defensible actual positions. Like we need to defend these power grids or this water supply or this or that.
Yeah, you know what it reminds me of is that episode that we did where the party defined the dungeon. Do you remember that one? No, that was actually... Well, that one too, yeah. We've had a few defenses scenarios. This one's on a larger scale, though, because we've had the original, which was defend against the large beast outside of the city that had the shield over it. Then we've had the Yuan Ti, which was defend the smaller scenario where it was just like a temple itself for the Yuan Ti and the Naga and all that kind of stuff. Then we had the one where the players build and define the dungeon and are stopping these supposed heroes from coming through the dungeon. The ones they got tricked by Orcus. But this one works on a larger scale, because the reason why I think that it works that way is because now it's like you're playing like this combination of like an RTS game and a tower defense game. I have never heard a roll during the game. What happened there?
I hit a dice on accident. I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought you were like, okay, Cameron, I'm gonna need you to make a intelligence check because that idea was really dumb. Okay.
No. It's true though, because it's different. It feels almost like a during the battlefield, like during a battle. Everything else, you've had that moment of setup. This is almost like a. It feels a lot more like. Go ahead.
Well, what if it's like this? The battle, this enemy is at the gates. King comes to the players, and he goes, "The only thing that will help us is to free my son or free my daughter, this great warrior that's been trapped away by this evil person, right? And they're trapped inside this obelisk." And he goes, "They've broken the seal, or they've broken the line of power to this obelisk. So we need you to get out there and set up encampments around these things. First and foremost, we need to push back the enemies at the gates. Then once we've cleared that area out, as the battle's going on and we're trying to essentially create a perimeter, we need you to establish a base of operations and then work from there each time and allow your players to make like 3 or 4 different decisions. Like, do you want to go this way and defend this portion of the town? And it will give you this many more men to defend with, but it will have less siege equipment or something like that. I'm trying to think about how we can get into the tower defense is easy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But the delivering of a gift to
that's the thing that's tricky to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm like getting like almost philosophical with it, where it's like the gift is. Well, seriously though, it's like the gift is less about an object and more about returning to the king a sense of normalcy. Whereas this is obviously not, a normal situation for the king to have the enemy at the gate and trying to bat down his kingdom. Returning that, he knows how it can be returned. It's like, that's how I can see that gift being good. I don't know though. I'm sort of drawing the blank on it, so we just got to keep on pulling this lawnmower cord.
Yeah. So here's some things I got too with this idea. Just some initial thoughts off of what we shared so far. I like the idea of a good old orcs are attacking a dwarven mountain citadel. Okay. That way you can have multiple paths into this citadel. I think we don't even necessarily have to do the pop-up fort watchtowers. We could have some going off of this dwarven magical energy that they've kind of hot-wired into everything. You could have, you said earlier, siege equipment, which in the DMG, there are actual stats for siege equipment. You could have it be where if they can restore power, they can activate, certain siege equipments, or maybe the king even will give them batteries. And if they charge the batteries, they can then go back to the siege equipment and turn it on and kind of defend certain positions. With it being a mountain fortress, it's really easy to, based off of that, even if it's not like a fully fleshed out, foot by foot, you draw a mountain and you say, hey, here's one path up to the citadel, and it runs through this. Here's another path up the citadel, and it runs through this. Inside the mountain, they could come up through the Underdark, and there's this path. That way you're kind of picking which ways you want to defend and how you want to defend. It's possible to have a flawless defense. It's also possible that something happens and they all come through. Maybe you even have certain, it sounds kind of corny, but maybe you even like through tokens, or you print something out, you have like one group of orcs that look very weak, and it's like, okay, so you can kind of see these guys are marching up here, these guys are marching up here for the first wave, like there's bulkier ones here, so you think that like these bulkier ones might have higher defense, so maybe you need to put more stuff here. Or you have this really fast and small one, so a catapult might not work, but maybe you could activate something else that would take these guys out.
So I'm going to piggyback on that real quick.
Piggyback. Hop up.
There I go. Okay. And then I like whisper in your ear. I'm like, let's go. And then off to storytelling. Okay, so I like the idea of a dwarven fortress. First and foremost, my only D&D character ever is a dwarf, so I'm a big fan of dwarfs. Secondly, I like the idea of a singular singular final point, but then multiple trails off of that. So let's say 3, right? Let's go 3 down the path. We've got the straight city path. We've got the crag, like the mountain pass, and then we've got the forested pass that the orcs can then travel through to get through, right? And then let's say that we have 3 nodes along the way on each one. 3 like core nodes that are defensible positions.
Yep.
That you can do right there. Your job as your players is this king is willing to protect the people of this city, but it comes with a cost, and that cost is delivering him these key items or something like that, whatever they may be. Okay. And so your party is tasked with retrieving these items and then getting them back to him. This is all long form, by the way. This would have to be long form. I see no way around this not being long form.
I have an idea.
Okay.
What if the gift... Man, this is kind of underhanded, and I hate underhanded DM tactics like this because it feels very much like, oh, you made us do that thing we don't want to do. So maybe this isn't a good idea.
Well,
but
just say it. Say it, and we'll see if it is or not.
I was thinking, like, what if you deliver a gift? What if the gift that you deliver is what shuts down the pylons? But I don't like that. I don't like it. Because it could be like, oh, crap, we shut down the city's defenses, and now we have to, like, set them back up again. But it feels too much to me like if we kind of even thought about this at all and you weren't keeping secrets from us as a DM, maybe our players wouldn't do something so stupid.
Yeah, and on top of that, why would the city even have a function like that?
Yeah,
at all?
like a big shutdown switch. It would have to be like you're delivering like a cursed thing that you don't know is cursed. But that just seems underhanded. I don't like that.
No, yeah. Rich, I'm going to press the button. Awful idea. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I didn't mean it. I have plenty of awful ideas. I'm not saying that was a bad one. Okay, so then let's think about it this way then. Right, it's easy to draw a map like that now, and then we can incorporate tokens, and we can incorporate large-scale battle scenarios. And what I mean by that is tokens have values, and then we have a finite amount of resources available at the beginning of the defense against these orc waves of, okay, where are we going to place our, these 3 units? And it's like a unit of dwarven archers, a unit of dwarven shieldsmen, and a unit of healers. Go ahead.
I have an idea.
Okay. Let's do it. Let's keep going.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I keep cutting you off right as you're saying very interesting things, because I like that idea of the units, and that's what sparked this idea. What if, so this is a dwarven king, these are orcs, and maybe the dwarves you even approach with this idea of like, they have this understanding that the orcs always come. They always come. They always attack. They always get close, but we're going to fend them off. What if your gift is what you kill? I can totally see these dwarves having this idea of like, I'm going to get the biggest head off of these bloody orcs to take back to the king. Like, it'll be me and my unit that get the most honor and glory at the feast.
I love it. So I was thinking, I was thinking the exact same thing. Here's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
So essentially, each of those orc tribes, like as they're coming up, they're going to send. Let's say they've sort of had a big, huge war recently, so both sides are a little diminished, and right now we're sort of dealing with the scraps again. Right?
Okay.
We're still building our stuff back up. So they're sending waves of goblins and waves of hobgoblins, led by some hobgoblin captains, so on and so forth. They send them to different areas. Well, you have tokens as the DM that you can lay out and say, okay, well, scouts report that on the like main city side, you've got this many orcs and units like this coming directly down the middle. On this side, you've got this many, and on this side, you have this many. The players can then have a choice of like an easy, medium, or hard, and also deal with the risk of like not applying enough resources of their own to those certain lanes, and then they choose action and go and try to retrieve those rewards, gather those rewards, and then take them back to the king. He then gives them their quote-unquote experience that they can then rebuild up the army more by spending on certain units.
Yep.
And so on and so forth.
Dude,
what do you think about that?
Okay. Do you have a piece of paper in front of you? Listeners, use your imagination. Okay, draw a triangle for me. And then put a dot right in the middle of that triangle.
Dot. Got it.
Okay, that dot is like the king's throne room. That is like the king's palace. That is his watchtower. Now, from the point of every triangle, draw a line that connects to that. There's the 3 paths that we were talking about.
Got it.
Go ahead and put 2 little dashes on each of those lines.
Yep.
Those
I already had sort of this drawn up on the other side of my paper.
Okay, and then like the dashes that are closest to the dot, like I'm gonna draw a circle. That's gonna be like the center city. And then the second dashes, that's like the outer city.
Yeah.
And then everything else is like the wilderness. So there's 3 entry points, but the orcs can also shift around their units from one entry point to another.
Yep.
But it takes them time. You can't just do it willy-nilly. So it's almost like every turn they move a piece around.
There's legitimately a board game that does this.
Is there really?
It's called Castle Rush.
Okay. So I've never played Castle Rush. I now need to look into it. But one thing about this too, I like the idea of the inner city and the outer city, because another thing it allows is you have these little, goblin scouts, and they're not going to do much damage, but they can move crazy fast. Like maybe they can move 2 lines or something. So there's no defenses. They rush in, they steal some gold from the outer or the inner city, or maybe they even make it like close in, and they like take something valuable of the king's as like the battle progresses. And now your players are like, well, if we could get out there and catch them, we could return this item to the king. However, we also need to worry about, this big boy ogre dude who's moving incredibly slow, but he's making his way straight through. It just adds little mechanics like that where the battle kind of feels, it feels alive a little bit. It feels like it's changing. It feels like, it feels much more like you said, like a board game, like a war game.
So if we were to, how do you progress? I guess there would be like kind of like turn counters, right? This reminds me back of that episode that we did originally. It's like how many you have X amount of turns within the city, or X amount of turns. You don't even have X amount of turns. It's just actions and movements take turns, right? Yeah. And so your players act as the pause and play button of your world. And so they're like, okay, I want to go from the center point of the triangle to the outer city.
Yep.
Okay, that takes 2 turns.
And you can only move in one direction. Yeah.
Yeah. That takes 2 turns or 3 turns or whatever it may be. And then
but whenever your players move,
all the other components do their thing too.
Yep.
Whether they're allied tokens or else. And then you can put for every player turn, they get to move, 1 turn's worth of distance or half a turn's worth of distance or something like that.
And you can say things too like maybe the allies aren't moving, because then it might be like too easy for your players. I tend to do that sometimes where I have like allies move and it makes it seem like they can just handle themselves. So what if it's like you put one dwarf figurine on. It's almost like, honestly, you know what it's like? It's like stinking a. It's like literally Plants vs Zombies. You have this one dwarf figure who's like your safety net. If a ogre or goblin or something reaches the dwarves for the first time, then the dwarves fall down and that unit falls down. So it gives you that one safety net. And then maybe throughout the battle, if you do something incredibly well, or if you help like retake something from like one of the cities, or you defeat a certain unit, you're able to get another dwarf back to put back as a safety net.
Right. I truly do like the idea of gathering in resources that you can then spend to pull from a pool. Like if there's a pool of 2,000, units or something like that.
Yeah.
You could spend to pull them out and use them as you're acting as the general for this king.
Yep.
And the gifts of the heads of his enemies, and the gift in and of itself is like the glory for this king. It's like the glory and like the confidence and the braggadociousness of it all.
Well, and one thing that could be cool too, I know we've talked before about how much we like Warhammer orcs. Maybe there's something where you could even attach something to these trophies they're getting from orcs. Like maybe like for every orc, maybe the king's like, if his back truly is up against the wall, or if he is incredibly wealthy, he could say like, for every orc head you bring me, I'll reward you. And the reward is like 1 gold per pound for just the orc head. So like, you kill some goblins, we're talking like maybe a half a silver piece, maybe a gold. But if you see that big boy ogre out there and you're like, man, we could go and kill that, it might leave us defenseless, but we'll get way more gold off of that thing's head.
Yeah. And and instead of having to worry about all the stuff about we're less of the tower defense, the towers themselves, and more of the minions within the towers. And instead of worrying about all the different components about,
but
adding different units to these areas, well, you're fine. Once again, adding all these different units to these areas, now instead we're back to focusing on the party and letting them be the focus of the story, and letting them make the decisions for themselves as to what they want to do. Because what if they don't care about this city? And they don't really care to help it or anything like that, and all they want to do is just go kill some orcs and make some gold, then he can give you sort of like a bounty.
What you could do is maybe after every successful encounter that the players win, they get some kind of reward or boon. Like you have a small deck of, maybe not even a small deck, maybe you make a small table they roll on or something like that. So and it's even just that they defeat like a small scouting party, but afterwards you have them roll, and they're like, after defeating the scouting party, you find some intel off of the goblins, and that rewards you with, you have them roll, and it's like, oh, you're able to set up some ballistas. So that means that you can pick right now one enemy unit on the board, and you can just pop them.
Got it.
And that happens every combat. But you could also maybe have some detrimental things on there, where like if they lose, or every time the goblins, you could do this every time the goblins get to the inner city, they leave. But there's like a detrimental table, like, oh hey, after this happened, your next, you don't get a card after your next battle, or all enemy tokens move forward 1 space, or summon a ogre right outside the city wall, like stuff like that.
So there's a game that I've been playing lately. It's called Mice and Mystics. It's essentially a game where these this adventuring party is shrunk down in the jail cells of a large castle into mice, and all the rest of the people that they're fighting are also mice. And instead of like shields, they have like a coin that has like a leather strap attached to it. It's very cute.
It sounds cute.
Yeah, it's very awesome. But it's kind of like a really easy role playing game. essentially. It's like a good entrance to role playing. The reason I bring that up, though, is that they have a feature or mechanic in the game called the Surge Wheel, which is every time an enemy were to roll, there's a cheese on the dice themselves. If the cheese is rolled, the cheese is added to the Surge Wheel, and once the wheel fills all the way up with 6 chunks of cheese, then a surge happens, and a negative thing happens to the board game. Whether it be adding new enemies to this, or the next room you go into is going to have double the enemies that it was supposed to have in the first place, so on and so forth, yada, yada, yada. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think that there would be a really cool feature to add to this game, or this style of thing. Like, if you could add maybe to one of your rolls that if the goblins that are like pushing up on one of the lines coming into the center courtyard. By the way, I'm only picturing this in my head as like the final fight in the Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I forget the name of it, but
Minas Tirith.
I think so. Well,
The
why don't
Black
you just dunk that?
Helm's Deep.
You just dunk that one on me. Why don't you?
Sorry, I just made my audio spike. Look, I don't know many movies, okay, but I know that one.
Tolkien. Yeah, you Tolkien guy. Yeah. But it, as like a goblin token moves up, and you say, for example, as the DM are doing your background rolls during their turns, as they're moving back and forth, and the battlefield is adapting and changing. If these goblins are rolling a certain number or hitting a certain amount of things, there could be a little checklist, and then once that checklist fills up, boom, surge happens, and it's like, oh look, here comes an ogre or an orc or these flying goblins or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yep. I think that sounds sweet. I like, because it mixes up. You're still going to have your combat encounters. You can still have even some role-play encounters. But the fact that there's a board and the things are moving different is going to make it seem, and this is one thing I always love, is when D&D seems different. Like, so many times it's like, okay, we knocked down some doors, we killed some guys, the bard tried to seduce the villain, it's just D&D, it's what you do.
Yeah.
But things like this make it feel different, and I love that.
Yeah. I'm a
So,
big
Cam,
fan.
let's do this. Let's rattle off real quick some types of orcs, some orc boys that our party could fight that just would be interesting. Like, I know in, was it Mordecannons or Volos, where they released different types of ogres, and one of the ogre types was like a catapult ogre, where it has like goblins it launches. That'd be awesome.
I think that'd be amazing. I'm also going to just steal from Warhammer. Warhammer has some really, really great goblins. They have spider riding goblins.
Awesome.
They're like flying on goblins. They have goblins that are led on chariots, but the chariots are led by wolves. These like dire wolves and stuff like that. I think that's really, really cool. There
Bats.
could be.
I like bats and orcs.
Yes. Yeah. Like are you talking like like where they're
Huge
like
bats.
maybe like a. Oh yeah, but maybe there's goblins that are like parachuting off of the bats themselves.
Ooh, I like
They're
that.
like
Yep.
parachuting. They're just like go 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 go. And they're just,
Go, go, go.
they're flying off. You could do a battering ram, and essentially it's you could just do a standard old battering ram, or you could have like an actual battering ram.
And the mechanics for a battering ram could be like they defeat the dwarf, but also get into the castle.
Yes.
So like they're ones that you want to take out. I think it was in Volos where they had extra orc types, and there was one that was like an orc that was cursed by like their god of sickness or something. So essentially it's like in the flood from Halo, those ones that explode and do damage. It's like that. But
check it out. I got Volos right here in front of me.
But I like the idea of that being like a sick boy, and him being able to like just pop. These are even things too that might not happen until your players show up in the battle, and then like the battle kind of unfolds, and like, oh, these orcs are a little bit different.
Dude, these orcs are sick.
I know, right? They're so cool.
These orcs are awesome. These orcs are like the orc blade of Ilnavel. That guy is amazing. The orc
You gotta
doesn't
have also
actually
like
have
just that one orc that like doesn't have a hand, and he has like a sword where his arm, like where his hand used to be, and his face is all cut up, and he's just big. He's like the champion essentially.
You could make. What about like you could do a really really big fat orc or something like that with like a chef's hat on, and he's dragging around like a pot of like boiling acid or something like that.
Ooh,
and he just is like, dinner served, and he just like trying to toss it on people or something.
That sounds sweet.
I like the idea of like an orc dragging along a massive mace. But see, like these could be essentially, man, these are like a bunch of mini boss battles now that I'm thinking of with all these different types of orcs. But these could be orcs that are also then littered with different types of goblins and all these other things that come along with it as well. And you could really theme these guys up and give them this sort of like, if they all stood in a line, that's a badass bunch of orcs. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
that's really really cool. You could do like a more slender and sneaky one that is like that holds 2 rapiers, and it's just really really dexterous and can jump around and flies all over the place and almost acts like a captain, you know, like a captain or swashbuckling captain on a pirate ship or something.
Yes.
Of that nature.
Yep. I think like a boom cart, because they would have their own siege weapons too. So
yes, they definitely would.
Like a boom cart, which is essentially just like a weird cannon thing. Them having like a like just different types of siege weapons that essentially do the same thing. Like all siege weapons, if they reach the dwarves, are bad because it kills the dwarves instantly, but the goblins or orcs still win. So it's just a ridiculous thing. It's like a boom cart will do it. Like ridiculously tall ladder goblins could do it. You could have like spider rider goblins could do it. You know,
I think what if you had this like giant? How big are tree ants? Like, can they be really big? Like treekin? Like I'm talking like
they're
like
big.
Dudes from Lord of the Rings style, right?
Yeah.
So, what if they've like either. You know how they have those giant elephants in Lord of the Rings, and they're sort of moving them around, and they're actually like riding them. Well, I was thinking, what if they took over one of these trees, right? But they've also got the tree is holding like 2 cages, and it's like walking, and these 2 cages are swinging side by side in its hands, and then it just takes and slams down one of the cages on like 5 or 6 houses, destroying the houses, and then from the inside you see the doors popping open on the cage, and there's a bunch of goblins. Some of them are dead in there and like broken and battered, but they're just swarming. And they're like little goblin bombs essentially from this treekin that's just like slamming it down.
Dude, I love that.
That sounds so sick, dude.
I don't know why I did that voice. I like this though, because it's just different, and your players get to pick what they want to fight. But I think also the idea of you having that benefits table after every fight gives them the chance to. There's going to be moments where like we're just going to have to hope that whatever benefit we get after this fight helps us. Like it gives us what we need, whether it's like an arrow storm or a like reinforcement dwarf or a ballista, whatever it is, we gotta hope we just get something good.
I do like the idea of the dwarves having some really interesting things as well. Like maybe there's portions of their cities because dwarves are so protective of their own stuff that maybe entire like. If you just laid them over to the staircase, we could take it from there. And then you get these goblins, and the players have run up the staircase, and the goblins, the orcs, are chasing them up the staircase. And then as they get to the top of the staircase, boom, pulls a lever, and the staircase just starts to crumble in on itself and become like it like opens up like a trapdoor or something like that.
And that's what you could do is you could have every dash represent a certain arena, a certain combat thing they're fighting in. Yeah. Like that way, like. You know, this dash is a long staircase. This dash is a bridge. This dash is some crumpled buildings. This dash is a wall. I don't know. I feel like that could just be an interesting way of doing it.
We're honestly just building a giant battle.
That's pretty much what it is. But I like that. I if it's done well. But the thing is, too, here's one trick. I think to do it well, you don't have to have a lot of stats. You don't have to have everything being different. You just got to have things that look different but do the same things, and your players are just going to be like, this is freaking cool and feels huge.
What was that advice you gave me? You said I have about 6 stat blocks I use for every game.
Yeah,
But
there's
then I just start getting nuts with it afterwards.
yes, yep. There's like Shambling Mound, Minicoids, Gladiator in the back of Volo's Guide.
Man, are we going to get this name right, or are we? I mean, we are the worst.
Mushroom
with these.
Men. I'm sorry, okay?
Yeah, it's yeah. You know what? Mushroom Men. That's what
Mushroom
it is.
Men. Yep.
I did hear somebody the other day pronounce it as like Minikids or like Myconids, or it was like
Mike and Ike's.
yeah, Mike and Ike's.
Mike's
Yeah, that's who it is.
Mike and Ike's. Mm-hmm.
Hey, what's up? I'm Mike and Ike, the Myconoids, Myconods, whatever the hell we are. Who
Yeah.
knows, really?
Who
We're the
knows?
Mushroom Men.
But I think this sounds cool. Like I think this is a cool little idea.
Yeah,
Is there
I
anything
think
else
so,
you
man.
think that we add to it? I think at this point it's like it's not
I
finished,
think we should
but
get. No, and I think this is an episode that if we ever got a chance to get our hands on, it would be a very mechanical
yeah,
style of thing. It's just like less. It's like essentially the whole situation I've described before with Legos. We would have just a bunch of blocks that someone would have to be able to play with because
exactly.
building it for just straight out would just be way too oppressive in terms of storytelling. I think the only thing that I could think of would be dwarves and giving them a little bit more flavor. Like, why are we here? Why doesn't is there a reason for the king needing these players to help him?
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. What you could do to make the players not just want to keep letting goblins get to the castle. I think the king maybe knew that this orc invasion was coming. Maybe he got some like intel. He hires out a bunch of adventuring parties, or he hires some additional muscle, which is very like that's what you would do if you know you're going to be attacked. Have a bar, like a treasury bar or something like that, and every time the goblins reach the center city, like the potential reward the players could get goes down.
Gotcha.
But
those goblins die.
Well, no, I don't think they die. I think so. Let's say these goblins or these orcs, they get to the center city, they pick up treasure, they leave. You can put like a little like milk ring, like what you get when you open up a can of milk. There's a little thing of, like, or a pop or something. There's that like ring. You put that around that unit, and that unit then tries to escape. If you kill that unit, you get that loot back. You take it back to the fort. Or if like
we are dealing with like the two types of like greedy sort of species.
Yeah.
And so they're just sort of in this like internal war over not internal, eternal war over gold and things like that.
So, and that's a really good way too of being like, okay, that if you let these units get to the center city, you're going to get less pay, unless you can then be like, okay, we'll let that really slow ogre get some treasure because we can catch up to him. But we can't let those goblins get the treasure because they are dang fast. And once that treasure's gone, it's gone.
Right. Yeah. I'm all about this, man. I think this is a good one. It's like it's a difficult one because it's it's been a hard one to understand, really. It's just been more
we've come off some really flavorful episodes. I feel like this one is less flavorful. That's not a bad thing.
No. Sometimes being straightforward and just sort of having that ability to just go out and fight is a good thing. And I don't hate on that. I guess what it's really been I guess maybe I've just been spoiling myself with so much extravagance when it comes to the ideas that when you have to come down and base things more in the grit of things, it feels less impactful. Does that make sense?
No, I get you.
What I mean?
Like most of our episodes are like, this man made of meatballs is going to go ahead and take a spaceship to the moon. But this one's more like, hey, Cam and Rich, how would you do a large-scale battle?
Yeah. It pretty much has come down to that. And that's okay. And I like it because, I'm a big fan of dwarves. I love goblins. I think that people hate on goblins a lot and orcs and stuff like that. I think that they are fun. And I think that they can be done and flavored in a way that makes them so unique to who they are. Because I think one of the biggest things about goblins and orcs is their canvas for personality seems to be more open than any other creature in the whole book. Because you can add so much more to them.
Oh, yeah.
In my opinion. Yeah. They're just fun to play around with, man. I'm a huge fan of those guys as well. And you know, the thing is, the other thing about this episode, I am huge about, I pretty much knock a player every session I play. And that's a bad balancing side on my part. I don't kill anybody that often, but I definitely... Or, excuse me, I made somebody mad. I don't kill my player that often, or my
That's
PC.
True.
I don't. The DM doesn't kill them. But the fact is that like I'm always knocking them down. I think this would also be a great opportunity to let your players feel like heroes for once and feel like, man, I'm just swiping through. Using the cleave mechanic in the DMG is another thing that you could definitely do in this scenario.
Oh yeah.
There's so much that you could do, but I think this would be a great one to go through and allow them to have that. So, but yeah, that's about it for me though. I think I'm tapped out on this one.
Cool, awesome. Well, you want to give them a little bit of a summary, and then I'll go ahead and think of something for the synopsis.
Let's do this thing.
Okay.
So your players have been tasked with helping to defend the great city of Dwarvenhood. Dwarvenhood has been in an eternal battle with the orcs from outside of town, and they continuously have been trying to steal the dwarves' gold, and the dwarves obviously don't want that to go away. So the king has tasked you with moving about the city to help alleviate his goblin problem, as they have started to encroach on the city and besiege the city, using things like boom boom carts and giant tree cans slamming down cages of orcs that spill out over the place. Your players have sort of just swathed their way through all of these different enemies. And then as they have knocked down the numbers, they've started to realize that more and more powerful orcs that lead little tribes of goblins and hobgoblins and things like that have started to appear, to the point of which they find themselves in a lot more dangerous, precarious situations. And they're having to make hard decisions as different embattlements are falling and different portions of the city are falling down. So your players must make the decision to go for the gold or help save people, or gives you a lot of options in that regard. So that's about it though for the summary. It's just a big old battle, just go nuts. So what do you think, Rich?
I think it's awesome. Okay, synopsis. I'm kind of picturing this something like that Lord of the Rings Shadow of Mordor game, or Shadow of War, whichever one the second one was, where like you lead your troops up to the fort and there's that like shouting match type thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, no, your mama, no, your mom, like that type of thing. But so it's this dwarf, and the dwarf is standing in front, like the dwarven king walks out of his citadel. He's just got done talking to his troops. Everyone's already going to their positions. And as he walks out onto this pedestal, you look out and you just see torches and orc heads, like as far as the eye can see, like on the plains. And the orc or the dwarf steps in front of this large mouthpiece. It looks like a giant dwarf like face with an open mouth. And as he speaks into it, his voice echoes out over the plains, and he says, "Oh, is that you, old green tooth? You've been trying to take my citadel for years, and you haven't done it before, and you won't do it again." And the dwarves kind of like are banging on their shields and things like that. And then from over the plain, you hear this orc, like these horns, like, and this orc wharf chief, he steps up to his version of like a microphone, which is like just a giant, like mangled piece of wood and cloth, and all these little goblins are carrying it. And he speaks into it, and he says, "Ooh, hey, there's a dice." He speaks into it, and he says,
That's what he says.
"There's a dice." He speaks into it and he says,
Wait, today the orc boys are gonna take you and all your gold there, brown beard.
There's just so much screaming and yelling. I just love it. But my dwarf and my orc accent is very similar, so I don't want to do it too much. But that's the image in my mind.
What did you call him? Brownbeard?
Brownbeard.
Oi.
Oi,
got the, like,
Brownbeard.
Ew.
It's like bad pirate accent, and then bad Scottish accent.
It's okay. You know from experience that you ran an entire game, like we've been running a game, and my Scottish accent has slowly just said, you know what, let's go British. Let's go
British, you know?
Let's because that old Scottish thing ain't working for you, bud. So I'm the man of three accents.
It's a tough one.
I'm right there with you.
But yeah, I'm hoping that I can use this sometime soon. I have a invasion planned, and I hadn't thought through mechanics, but I think this will be a good one. But to everybody else out there, Cam, what if some people are interested? Maybe they heard meatballs and going to the moon, and they're like, what the heck is this podcast even about? Where could they find more of us, or talk to us, or find us on social media?
You can find us on Twitter at FITGDND. You can go find us on Reddit at Filling in the Gaps. You can find us on our YouTube channel. You can find us on our Discord. The Discord, you can get to that by actually going through one of those other websites, like either Twitter or social media, or not social media, or like Reddit or something to that nature. And yeah, you can find us on those any and every podcasting application you could possibly think of. We will be there as well. So yeah, beyond that, it's pretty simple, man. FITGD&D. If you want to also send out any themes or scenario ideas to be added to this list to make our episode that much more fun for you and to be a part of the conversation, you can reach out to us on Twitter using the hashtag FITG and including the theme or scenario that you'd like to add. So that's about it for that, Rich.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. I know it's a lot more mechanical than we're used to, but here at Filling in the Gaps, what we always say is that we like having these random, off-the-wall, unplanned discussions, not so that you can listen to every word we say, but hopefully so that sometime during our episode, you tune out, start thinking about your own session with your own players, having your own ideas, and we hope that that happened at some point for you guys along the course of this episode. We're glad that you guys were here listening. Hope to see you guys and talk to you guys on Discord, but in the meantime, hope you guys have a great next game night, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Huh? You're still here. Well, that's great. Hey, you guys should check these guys out right here. It's Bombarded. Bombarded is a musical D&D podcast adventure that features Dallas-Fort Worth band Limby playing as an all-bard cast. Dungeon Maestro Kyle leads Yashi, Razul, son of Azul, and Randy through their education at Strumlot's School for Bards, and the misadventures that they encounter along the way. Everyone brings real instruments to the table to perform their bard spells, and each episode provides a new song composed by rolling chord dice. Check out bombardedcast.com for more info, or just search Bombarded wherever you get podcasts.